Welcome to the Ruby Hour, a podcast produced by our company Ruby Riot Creatives. We specialize in video production and content marketing, and we're based in Charleston, South Carolina. I'm Shelby Ring.
And I'm Madeline Rager.
This podcast is devoted to interviewing extraordinary people doing extraordinary things and nuggets of wisdom that they've learned along their journey. Also, just want to give you a heads up, we have potty mouths and we're talking about inappropriate things. So thank you so much for tuning in for another session of the Ruby Hour. I'm your host, Shelby Ring, and I have the amazing Hope Caldwell with me today.
Hello.
Oh, I've been looking forward to this for so long. So Hope is the founder of the KLH Group. They specialize in corporate event planning and bringing meaning to events, which I love this. And I have heard Hope speak so many times, and every time I'm like, I'm implementing the 5% to my business. I'm implementing all these principles. So I'm so thrilled to have you here.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time. So for people that are just hearing about you or meeting you for the first time, how did you get started in your line of work?
Yep. So I originated from New England, Boston, Mass, and moved to Charleston, South Carolina to be a horse-drawn carriage tour driver.
What?
Yes.
Hope.
I got my permitting and drove carriages. And background, went to school for hospitality.
Yes.
So knew I wanted to be in the hospitality industry.
Okay.
But I loved history. And so moved here to be a tour guide and quickly recognized that being behind a horse in August was not in Charleston was not the most appealing thing in the world. And so switched over to event production and destination management quickly after with a wonderful company based in Charleston, and spent about 12 years doing that out at Key Island.
Okay.
And then started this company in 2016, about 8 months after we brought our son home from China.
Awesome. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I would have never associated Hope had her roots in carriage tour guiding.
No one does.
That is so
But
awesome.
it has served me so well. I have since traded in my carriage for a golf cart.
Okay.
And I take clients around all day, every day, showcasing our city to clients who want to come and experience Charleston as a destination.
That is
So it really has served me well.
awesome. That's beautiful. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. So I want to dive in really quick into the social impact of what you do.
Yes.
I don't know of any other companies here locally that that do this so beautifully. Walk me through, what was the connection and what does that mean of bringing meaning to events and the social impact?
Yeah. So it started in 2012. My husband and I served on our first mission trip to East Africa. And I loved it. And if you've ever been to Africa, it gets under your skin. And so homecoming was really tough because I was working in a 5-star property. But my heart to serve was with the underserved. It was really, I left my heart in Africa. I always joke that if I wasn't married, I would have moved there.
Yeah.
But I quickly realized when I came home, well, it took a couple years. I can't say quickly, but I did realize that I could do a lot more good here than I could there for the masses. And I started to just get quiet and try to understand what my higher power wanted for me after that experience. And what I started to see was a trend in the event industry where there were clients, some of our clients, who were really interested and had the heart to serve. They just didn't have the opportunity to serve. And so I started to test the theory. And sure enough, it became these events that we started doing where we implemented community service became the heartbeat of a program and became what our clients were talking about and requesting again and again. And so it's really the heart of the KLH Group. And the reason we started it was because we believe the event industry really needed new life. And for me, in order to stay in an industry like this, I needed to have life in it. And so our social impact events breathe life into programs, not all of them, but for those clients and companies that are requesting social responsibility and requiring it really of both their team members and within their business model. We offer a way to meet all of your responsibility through events.
Cool.
Yeah.
And so you combined, because I just love this visual of what I think you do, and feel free to correct me of how I like visualize this happening. But you guys put on these like impeccable, amazing like galas, like the caliber of events, you know, those of us in the event industry just so admire and love and revel in. But then you're also taking like these, you know, CEOs and these very like high powered people, and you're getting their hands like in the mud, like working on projects, like, you know, the rebuilding housing. Walk me practically into like what has some of that social impact literally looked like?
Yeah. So there's one company. It was our first real company who took a chance on us, and I'll forever be grateful. But we had a pilot program called the Clubhouse Challenge, and they saw the video and they said, hell yeah, we want to do, actually they said, we want to do 20 of these. And I was like, oh, I don't think I can do that. We'll do 10. And so it was 150 guests. And in all of our events, they have to have a high level sort of 5-star approach to them, because that's the expectation.
Yeah.
So they all have great lighting, great linens, great music, great sommeliers, great food, all of it, with a community component. So we brought this group to a venue outdoors. Music was playing. It was just awesome. And there was a bunch of kids that were there. And prior to the guests arriving, I was able to share with them on their general session stage the importance of social responsibility and how cool their company was for implementing it, and how special they were as employees and as team members. And it was all leadership, so it comes from the top. And but I got to share with them before they got to the event the 10 kids that they were benefiting, and each of those children were battling their fight with pediatric cancer. And so when the guests arrived, they knew their kiddo's story, and shoulder to shoulder alongside them, they built a clubhouse in about 2.5 hours that this kiddo could bring home with them and live out hopefully a long, happy life. And some of our kiddos in the past few years have passed away, but their siblings have been able to remember that day and you know, get to play in the clubhouse where their sibling got to play. And so And this specific client really, really loved the event, so much so that they keep coming back year after year. So this is going to be hopefully year 5 next year. And so, yeah, it's really special, but the event itself is so high energy. We make sure it's high energy, and we make sure it's under 3 hours, because that's the attention span.
Yes.
But we make sure there's something deliverable at the end for a specific community.
That is, I just remember tearing up when you shared the video of that and that project. And I mean, that's like, I'll never forget that.
Yeah.
And that's the most beautiful work of how do we make, you know, like I know for me, my background is I did go to ministry school, and I thought I wanted to be a missionary, and I thought that was my modality, that I would introduce change into the world, and that I would, you know, love the hell out of people, and you know, be able to be a presence. And you know, through whatever journey, I now really believe that through building a business, it creates serious, sustainable waves through community.
Oh, yeah.
In the way that I can offer it, even if we're small. And, you know, I know back in, I think 2017, you did the talk on, I believe it was like the 5%, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so I implemented that in my wedding videography business. I mean, we were babies, but every quarter we picked a different local charity or like circumstance that had happened. And so my favorite server at Paige's Ochre Grill was in a car accident, and she was debilitated.
Wow.
And they had a GoFundMe. She was our quarterly cause, you know, of our taking our, we weren't big, but just setting aside a piece of our profits for reinvesting back in our community. So it's like, just, I love that the heartbeat of what you do is, it's like, it's not that you have to be, you know, not a prosperous business to make beautiful grassroots change.
Yeah.
And the way that the system you've set up supports these, you know, incredible leaders and connects them to that heartbeat of, that family who is going through a really challenging time. It's like, that's just mind blowing to me. And I love that.
Well, it's funny on that. I struggle with that though, because, when I came home from Africa, I wanted to change everything. Like I wanted to make the world better. But when I sat with that, I realized that what I learned there, I feel like they're doing it so well. The community in specifically Uganda, I learned so much from them on their level of happy with so very little, that when I came home, I realized like, it doesn't have to be grand gestures, and when we walked through our international adoption with our son, same thing. I saw a crisis of the orphan crisis in China, and I wanted to fix it. Why couldn't I?
Yeah.
But where I feel like God has had me is that we changed it for one human, and that's enough, and being okay with that being enough.
Yeah.
And so when I share with my clients before they walk into one of our events, is I make sure they check their sincerity. Because when you walk in and you're just going through the motion, these kids can feel it.
Wow.
They know it. They can feel it. Everybody can feel it. But when you walk in with a sincerity level, it just brings, it's grace that's moving from person to person. And when your sincerity level is up here, that grace just moves and moves and moves. And that is a freaking memorable event.
Yeah.
That's what people will leave remembering. So cool.
Yeah. That's like, I love it. Yes. So we're in the holiday season right now. And I just wanted to get your 2 cents of, what have been things for you along your journey and in your business? I know there's several people that are in your company. And so, just being a founder, being somebody that's growing an organization, how do you balance when you are being pulled in a number of different directions? What does that look like in your life?
I'm not doing it well.
Yeah.
Especially this season.
Oh, preaching to the choir.
Goodness gracious.
Yes.
I wish I was, but I know how I want to be doing this.
Yeah.
And I think that when I make the time, I should say,
Yeah.
to stay high level, that's when I can pour into my team members much better.
Break down, what is high level?
Yeah. So when the saying, what is the saying? Even though you should, or no, even though you can, doesn't mean you should.
Yes.
Yes.
I
I think I have to be practicing that a lot more, because as a founder, I naturally know how to plan events. I've been doing it for, 15 years, but that doesn't mean I should be doing that. And I think because I have such a capable team who can do this work, probably, actually, I know better than me at this point, I have a responsibility to stay high level. And what I mean by high level is not getting into the nitty gritty and the details of an event unless I own it and it's mine. So if I'm able to stay high level on sales and marketing, on supporting my team members, on making sure everything's in check for everything they need within the office, I don't know, even filling up their gas tank or delivering the golf cart to where they need it. Those are nitty gritty, but that's high level to me because I'm supporting a team member who's working directly with the client.
I love that.
Planning out 2020, what does the scheduling look like? Where are we overlapping? Where might we need more help? All of those details that are not getting done right now, by the way.
Yes.
All on my head because we're in the grind. And so I think that and the holiday season's really important to me with my family. I have a 5-year-old who I just want to, live out the holidays through his eyes and make that margin and make that time and set it aside for them. And so, just prioritizing both of those during this season and remembering what the whole season's about.
Can I ask you, with your journey of adoption, what was your how was that process?
Yeah.
Because, and I ask from a stance of like my own personal reality, and I know that I have a community of people around me. Like I was born without any eggs genetically, and so this is something that's very relevant for me of the world of which route do you go, and really evaluating the model of different families and family structure in today's day and age. So that being the context, what was your journey?
Yeah, I think so. Our journey is unique, just like anybody's journey. But Ken and I, my husband, had seen the need of the magnitude of the need worldwide, and we both agreed that we wanted to give a kiddo an opportunity to live in the United States that didn't have the opportunity yet, and that was a pretty easy decision for us. Country of origin was a really tough decision.
Yeah.
Really tough.
Oh my gosh. How do you even start thinking?
I knew, I thought I knew that I wanted our baby to come from Africa because it was in my skin. It was just where I wanted that to be. And, for a lot of different reasons, that was not our path. And so when we agreed on China, it took a few months of us really getting real with ourselves about what we wanted. And, I think that one of the hardest parts about the process for us was eventually moving into a place to ask what was best for our future child, and that was like the first, I think, experience as parents, putting our future child's needs before our own.
Yeah.
And that was really interesting, but it took months of discussion and arguing and some pretty rough conversations. And so when we finally chose China, it got harder because then the process started. And then when we finally, about 6 months into the process, we were given Liam's referral photograph. And then it got even harder because now we accepted a son, but now we knew he was alive and growing. And he celebrated his first birthday in an orphanage. We missed out on a lot, but we chose to take the perspective of we get to experience so much more soon. And it took everything in my body to not fly there and just meet him. But it made it that much sweeter when we did. And so we decided to go the medical special needs route. And our little dude was close to never walking, so they say, and developmentally delayed. Okay. And when we met him, he took his first steps for us in China. And he is now trilingual and smarter than Ken and I put together at 5 years old.
Wow. That's so awesome.
Yeah. So a lot of prayer. And a lot of just constantly turning it over. But it is not for the faint of heart.
Yeah.
It is a hard process. But, so is having a baby biologically. Yeah. Like, I don't know what that feels like. And I can't imagine it's easy.
Yeah.
Well,
and then the other route of, donor eggs and the journey of infertility and will it take and all that whole world. It's like whatever your course, you'll have your treasure hidden along the way.
Yeah, and just trying to make the best yes when you can. And I think in order to do that, you just have to get quiet. And so constantly making margin to be quiet and hearing, okay, what route am I supposed to take? And I imagine we're very similar where I try to force things. I want things to go my way. And when I was told that, no, there is a 1% chance that you could have a baby biologically, I was like, well, okay, what's the next plan?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think over the years, I've had to mourn that loss of that process of not being able to have a biological child. And I'm fine with it. It was, but because I was on to the next thing, and in my way or the highway, I didn't necessarily mourn that loss until many years later.
Yeah.
And now we have a very healthy child, and I'm so thankful.
Yeah.
But the process itself really changes you.
Did you have in your journey that sense of did you ever have something that has been a part of my process is am I truly feminine, if I'm, this fundamental woman ability to create, quote, life. And I struggled for a long time around, am I less of a woman because there's something fundamentally not as capable as what should be. Did you ever have any of that piece of the journey of?
I'm the youngest of 7 kids, and my mom obviously was plenty fertile. For lack of a better term.
For sure. Yes.
But both my sisters went through fertility.
Yeah.
One couldn't conceive, and then the other had a little girl after 8 rounds of in vitro. And so in high school, I had a crazy autoimmune issue where I was left in a wheelchair for about a year.
Wow.
And I think I always knew that I wasn't going to be able to conceive because of that issue with my spine and the autoimmune. I think I knew that my body would never be able to handle it. And then after seeing my sisters and what they went through, I was fearful of fertility, and I just kind of always, from a very early age, knew that I was going to adopt. I don't know. And no, to answer your question, I never felt like less of a woman. But it's very curious.
Yeah.
It's considering my mom and all of her kids.
Yeah.
And then all of us girls, conditions, if you will, for lack of a better term. So I just feel like it is what it is. Like it's the way it's supposed to be. And
Yeah, it is such a journey. And I feel like the moment that I connect with other women, regardless of whatever their process was with that, I just feel like it is such a gift, truly. And I like to phrase it as, I was gifted with premature ovarian failure at 19. Like that has been something that has been a huge source of, of strength, because it's a catalyst to evaluate what I think, what are the beliefs I have that I'm using to consider myself, valid or enough, and really getting through so many superficial, elements of how we establish ourselves as just humans.
And I think that's suffering. That's suffering to me. Like when, my family has suffered a lot in a lot of different journeys, whether it's through, adoption or fertility or alcoholism or, broken marriages. And, there's a lot of suffering. And all along the way, I continue to get pulled out from that. And I continue to sort of have this, we call it redemptive remembering, and being able to say, I see the path here. I see where my higher power had me in this place to grow. Yeah. And I'm thankful for the scars in a way, because it's created this new journey. And it's like, okay. But it's really hard when you're in it. Like when I was told I couldn't have a baby, the last thing I wanted to do was hear somebody say, it's God's will. Fuck off. or the classic, oh, you know what? Miracles can happen. That's right. It's like the last thing you want to hear.
Yeah. Or all the things that, people are trying to say and they mean it genuinely.
I totally agree. But then it's like, okay, well then it's given me a place to be able to pour into other women who are either on the mission field or who are going through adoption or fertility or, alcoholism or, all of these, it feels like sort of demographic of people. It sort of gives you street cred.
Yeah. Well, you're like, I'm no stranger to suffering. I'm no stranger to, facing your own inner, some people might call it demons, or your own inner, your journey of...
It makes me think of one family. So my husband, on our wedding day, found out he had a brain cyst. And
on your wedding day, he figured this out?
On our wedding day.
What?
Yes. In front of 200 people.
What?
Yeah. Had a episode on the altar. Yeah. Got carried out. And we were down in the church basement. we went to our reception because what do you do? I had no idea.
Did he go to the reception?
He did go to the reception.
So he had this experience.
Yeah, he
And then he was like, well, that was weird.
No, he didn't remember any of it. Yeah.
He just came to
The next day. Yeah.
Wait, was he functioning around at the reception?
I mean, we danced.
Okay.
We danced our first dance. And
what?
I know. It's a big deal. And I think this year alone, I have gotten to the point where that is no longer our story.
Yeah.
We are no longer, thank goodness, and I wouldn't share it otherwise, but we are no longer identifying who we are because of that in our marriage. But yeah, it was monumental for sure. And 4 months later, found the cyst in his brain when he stopped walking and talking. Had a pretty big brain surgery. Well, yeah, big brain surgery and then recovery. And where was I going with that? Oh, back to the suffering and being able to pour into families. A part of our delivery of clubhouses. So some of these kiddos that we identify with and partner with, one specific had a brain tumor and woke up and couldn't walk, couldn't talk. And so I got to deliver one of the clubhouses to his family, and his mom was there, and she and I just connected over, the brain and how difficult it is to hear this and to be told that there's not a lot anybody can do except wait and see and do therapy. And that was a lot of what we went through. And I feel like, God has given me these stories and these instances to be able to pour into people like our beneficiaries too, and their families. And it's almost like a ministry in a way, I guess.
It sounds exactly like a ministry.
I know, but it's like a job.
Yeah.
It's so great.
Yeah.
But those stories are what we're able to go back to our clients and share and say, you know what? It's not about building a clubhouse. It's about like what these families get to experience and the care that they get to get and the communication and the connection that you are giving them through these events. Crazy, right?
Yes. So tying into this time of year and knowing how to maneuver all of I know for so many of us, we're interacting with family, and I know there's that quote, I'm totally going to butcher it. It's like, it was like a great yogi that was like, if you think you've mastered your inner reality, like go spend a week with your family.
Yeah, if you think you're enlightened.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, so in the midst of, I'm sure like so many people listening are feeling maybe pulled in a lot of different directions. I know that I feel that, on the regular. What are some things that have helped you in your life maneuver the terrain of when to say no and not associate it with guilt? What's your journey with that?
Yeah, so I struggle with that, no surprise as well, but I'm getting better at it. I'm getting better at making the right yeses and saying no to the right things. I think where I struggle the most is probably with clients, because I have now identified that it's fear-based decision-making, fear-based, what if the money's not there? What if the clients are not there? Because there was a time where it wasn't.
Sure.
As an entrepreneur and a business owner, there was a time where I didn't have any clients and I didn't have any money. Yep. But that's no way to run a business, fear-based. And so I'm getting better at recognizing when I say yes and when I say no, not out of fear, but it requires a ton of presence.
Yeah.
And a ton.
And how do you maneuver that? How do you maneuver? Can you feel when the fear-based thinking, what does that feel like practically for you?
Yeah.
Or how do you maneuver?
So my husband is a really good sounding board for me. I'm able to call, and because he walked with me through those times, you know, and be able to say this out loud and receive feedback of like, hey, you're probably spiraling. You probably either need to go for a walk, or I'm involved with a 12-step program that helps me stay very present. And so I might need to go to a meeting, or have a conversation with another business owner, like a Me Too kind of thing. Yeah. And then get real and say, maybe I don't need to spend an entire day with you, client. Maybe I can carve out 2 hours for you, and that can be enough. And then get really, really tight on my schedule, so that the best yeses are being made. Yeah.
How did you learn to start, or did you ever feel a shift between having the client interaction happening to you versus valuing your time and shifting to realize that your schedule is truly your schedule.
Yeah, there was a long time where clients dictated my schedule.
Yeah.
And if I'm honest, they still do.
Sure.
At times.
Sure.
And it's like they're the ones paying you.
Yeah.
And 99% of my business is from outside of this city. And so they're only here for 1 or 2 days or a short period of time.
Very
and
time sensitive.
Yes, I do need to prioritize them. So they do dictate my schedule, but it's every other thing happening outside of my clients that I can be in control of, you know, and that I think is where I could do a better job of setting boundaries. You know, I have a hard time, you would have a hard time getting me out past 5 o'clock because 5 o'clock on is dedicated to my family. But I'll go do anything with you during the day if it means like a business meeting or a lunch or a walk or something like that. But you got to catch me between 9 to 5 or like 8:30 to 5 if there's no other clients going on because the evenings are dedicated to my family. So yeah, it's a work in progress. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard, but boundaries are really important. And I think surrounding myself with other women, especially who are really good at setting boundaries, has helped me realize, okay, there's something to this.
Yeah.
And you know, setting aside like exercise and prayer and meditation in the mornings has been a game changer for me this month. It's something that I used to do all the time and then life happens. But this month especially, I've implemented again, just becoming more aware of it. And it's changed a lot of how I feel all day, every day. So if it's just that, you know, hour that I can get up a little earlier and do this stuff to help me, help my mood and help really everything throughout the day.
Yeah.
But it's hard. It takes awareness.
Yeah. What about when you're coping with looking at the new year? You know, we're coming into 2020 and do you ever have any type of, because I know you're a planner, but also I know for me, sometimes when I think of the next year, it seems so grandiose and it can be daunting or overwhelming. How do you balance staying present with what is in today and this week and this moment with being someone that is like very proactively building their reality?
Yeah. So it's no surprise that faith's really important to me. And so I have this mantra of, you know, this is the day the Lord has made. Let us just rejoice and be glad. And I think when I get into the moment of, 2020 is terrifying to me right now. It's terrifying, you know? I know.
Yes.
I mean, we have 4 events on one single day in May that we know of right now. And it's like, but then I say that, and 4 years ago, I was like, yes, I'll do anything, you know? So it's perspective, A, but B, knowing that I'll be given what I can handle, and it's gonna be okay. And like, I don't want to sound too sort of cliche and too big picture, but truly, I revel in the fact that I've made it this far, you know. And this year has been really crazy, and we've had multiple events on the same day, but there's always help, and there's always people there to support you, and it's just awesome to be a witness of when you need something, it shows up. I 100% believe in that. And so, I don't know, I don't really worry that much. I just expect it to work.
Yeah. Which that's a very high energy to be in. You know, I'm working with my life coach reading this book called The Magician's Way, and it's all about like visualizing that end result and trusting when you align your thoughts to be like, what's the experience I want to have in 2020 and or whenever. And you have a state of, you know what? I have proof and data that it always works out. It's going to come together, and to like have that subconscious mind be attuned to that versus maybe, I know for me when I was first getting set up, right? And we're like, I'll take anything with a pulse.
Yeah.
And you're struggling, but then over time you look for the data to validate, wait a second, I believe it is going to come through for me. And I believe in this moment and in this time that, yeah, look, there was success, even in small ways. That's what I've been working on is the subconscious belief system. What am I letting fuel my circumstance? How am I visualizing what's happening to me? Because we look for proof in whatever we're doing. So if we think that the universe is against us and that things are going to fall apart and it just doesn't work out for me, I try and there's always something I'm not expecting and it comes through. Like that's something I'm tackling by the horns right now. And you look for proof of showing where that's happened, but at the same time, in the same instance, shifting that mentality of being like, I am constantly supported by a higher power and it always works out. Then you're like, oh, I got that really good parking spot. What else? Okay, well, that actually worked out with my timing. Oh, downtown was blocked, but I magically got through Calhoun with no traffic and it was green lights the whole way. Yeah. Oh, and then you can validate whatever argument.
Yeah. Agreed.
It's the story that you want to feed.
I think practically, too, every week my team and I... we look back to see what our wins were and how the week went for us and looking forward to what are our big 3 for this week. And that has been a really cool process of celebration. And I think as a business owner, you're just constantly go, 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 go. But being able to reflect on wins has helped me and helped us as a team remember, even if they're small, they're wins. Yeah. You know, and in the midst of some pretty weighty things, those wins are really helpful to reflect on, you know?
And they're anchors.
Yeah.
Because they're anchoring you in, okay, this current circumstance is uncomfortable. You know, if you didn't have your language cleaned up, you know, it could be like, this sucks. Yeah. This is unfortunate. This is, oh my gosh, crisis. Or, all right, we have an opportunity to grow right now. We have an opportunity to rise up. And what kind of proof do we have that we can get through it? Oh, well, here's all of our trophy, you know, moments of this came through. We accomplished this. This happened. This was executed beautifully. This followed through, you know, and seeing the anchors of you've got what it takes. That's so powerful to do that simple practice of each week, you know, circle back around with your team. How do you balance, like, what is your perspective? Okay, yes, with your team and the people that you work with. And I feel like I'm curious to know, have you attracted like-minded people in your team? How has it worked for you? Given, you know, I feel like you have a mix of this philanthropic servant heart mixed with, you know, a very savvy and excellent caliber of operating as a business owner and an event planner. How have you attracted people on your team?
I've done well and I've done poorly. You know, I know that there's a science to hiring, but I often just trust my gut. And so I've had a handful of team members now, and I think I really do. I trust my gut and their level of sincerity when they show up to a meeting with me. As far as the interview process goes, I do need to know their heart. I think that's really important, but I also need to know that they can work hard. Yeah. I mean, it is no joke.
You're sore right now, right?
I'm sore.
You just went through like lifting hundreds of chairs and benches.
140 to be precise. 12 tables, 2 fire pits, 8 rocking chairs, and a partridge in a pear tree.
I'm sore from just hearing that description right now.
Yeah, it is no joke. It is no joke. And there are some days where you get to play with kids who, you know, and it's lovely and fun and light, but most days it is not that. Yeah. And so I need to know you have grit and just like, you know, you're willing to do what it takes to get the job done, no matter what. And that's really something you can't teach, and it's something I look for in a team member. And it's no surprise that I'm pretty square. So I really love having teammates that can, you know, keep it fun, keep it real. And
wait, what do you mean you're square? What does that mean?
I feel like I'm in a box. Like I feel like you got to work hard to get me out. And once I'm out and having fun, it's a whole nother ball game. Okay. But it's hard for me to get there. Like I feel like I'm square as in, you know, I'm pretty wound up. Like I'm pretty tight.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I do a lot of, when I'm in the zone, I'm in the zone.
Yeah.
But when you get me out of the zone, it's really fun. So I look for people who can get me out of the zone a little bit.
Are you in the box right now, or are you out of the box?
I'm pretty in the box.
What? You seem great in the box.
Well, thank you. I think so too.
I mean, if this is your being in a box, when I think of being in a box, it'd be like, I think of like when we're like, I was going to say like balls deep in editing. When we're like really in the thick of editing, you know, I have like a very particular mind, or when I'm like writing emails about staffing, but then we're like on the street with RoboCat outfits being like, nyeh. But like your box seems lovely.
Thank you.
I love what you've done with the place.
Are we gonna edit that?
No, I think that's perfect.
I do too. I mean, it's my day to day. I do love that, but like my husband probably gets the back end of it. You know, it's like, oh, how am I gonna get it all done? Or I have to get up early, or I have to, I'm like so self-centered at times.
Aren't we all?
You know? Yeah. And so I do. I look for team members who like want to maybe do something fun, or want to go to the spa sometimes, or maybe just get out and go for a walk, you know, that can get me out of that like owner box.
What has helped you with finding the caliber of clients that resonates with, you know, because you mentioned your first client that was willing to take a chance on doing something that is more rooted in, you know, the social impact piece. How has that grown?
Oh, it's all education. So when we are able to get in front of businesses, and generally it's Fortune 500 companies, so when we're able to either get on the phone with their planners or get in front of them, you know, educating them that this exists is half the battle. Once they commit to it, I have no doubt it is like a slam dunk and they'll come back. But the education piece is something that's been really a pretty interesting journey for me, but one that I find myself really loving. Like I love to speak on the topic. I love to share on the topic. I really resonate with that. And so connecting with clients on that level, it's like a Me Too kind of thing.
Okay.
You know, everybody loves to talk about it. Most people believe in it, but it's getting them to take that step, the financial commitment to it. And that has to come from leadership. So so we've had a really good time talking about it, and now we're being sought after.
Yeah.
You know, there's enough.
You've built enough momentum around it.
Conversation around it. Yeah. That companies are calling us specifically for that, which is like really mind-blowing when you start a company with a goal like that.
Yeah.
But knowing you're going to do whatever it takes to get there, and now you're finding, and by no means have we arrived.
Sure.
But it is really fun to get those calls. It's always surreal to get those calls and say, hey, we're interested in a social impact event.
Aww.
And we're XYZ company and we are willing to do this and prioritize it. It's like, yes, this does happen.
That's like when the iPod was created and the whole thing of Steve Jobs being like, we need to create something that people don't know exists yet, and they don't know they need it, but once we create it, they can't live without it.
That's right.
That's what you're creating, something that is unheard of until they've heard of it.
Yeah.
And then they have to have it.
And then they have to have it.
Yeah.
And then they start prioritizing it, and then they start building it in, and then it's like, no brainer.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah. I can only imagine like the fulfillment of getting those calls or the emails reaching out for people being like, there's nothing better than when someone's like, we watched your like wedding song suggestion tips video where we're just like total idiots and just playful, and they're like, that was the funniest thing we've ever seen, we want to book you for our wedding, or like, we love your culture, we love your whatever, like we hate the vampire movie song too, like we love you already, let's work together. When you can find people that resonate with that main vein of like, that's your heart and soul, and it's coming out in the service that you're doing, and all the, you know, evangelizing, educating, storytelling of what this looks like. I can only imagine it's got to be amazing.
I think that's the high level stuff too. And maybe not high level because there's details to it, but there's nobody else that's going to be doing that but me. Yeah. And so that's where I need to be spending my time. Yep. But we also as a company need to be making money. And so that's what the other stuff is, you know, so when coming back to how are you using your time, you know, that's the stuff that lights me up. That's the stuff I want to be working on this season is like, that's what lights me up. that's where I want to, if I'm not with my family or spending time with my friends, that's the stuff I want to be working on, you know? It's so cool and so fun. So I think that's what I'm going to do this season.
Get it, girl. That's so awesome. I mean, I guess my only other thought that I have for you are that, you know, it's like, because I'm like, oh my gosh, we have like an hour with Hope. Like, if I could ask her anything, you know, what would I want to ask you? You know, what would I want to glean from in your life? Did you always have a generous spirit?
Yeah. Did I always have a generous spirit? Well, being the youngest of 7, really 6 growing up, and then we found out we had an older brother.
Okay.
You know, you sort of talk about survival. So I was surviving my whole life.
Yes.
And so I think there was a lot of humility built in being the youngest of 7. You know, I wore their clothes, boys and girls. You know, and my parents did the best they could. But by no means were we, you know, we were living large enough. I mean, we went to Disney once. That was a big deal with 6 kids. So I think the humility piece was ingrained at a very young age. And then when I started to really understand and start to feel my, you know, religion was built into us, beaten into us. And so, but when I started to understand the heart behind it is when I started to want to give. And I think I always knew I wanted to spend time in Africa. I never knew why it called me, but I think, so I would say that, the giving heart was always there. But I think when I finally experienced what it was like to give, I mean, there's nothing better. There really is nothing better. And the cool part is, and this is what I tell my clients, you can't buy that. It's not something you can purchase because it was purchased for us. But you can purchase an experience or set up an experience like that where it will flow. Yeah. And I think that's freaking cool.
Yeah. And that's truly, to me, I think that's like self-mastery, or like the mastery of an organization to facilitate those experiences, which it's like, that's literally, you know, you are bringing meaning to events. You're literally creating magic for companies to connect with a soul value. You know, it's if their heart space is there, if you know, you're creating a nurturing environment for magic to happen, for real human connection, and that, like, the stories that people keep for the rest of their life.
We call it a culture of generosity. That's what we're doing. And we are just a very, very small part of this master plan. And we call it the ripple effect too. So we are just dropping that one little ripple. We are creating that. And then it is so cool to watch the stories that come of it. Like, I had a client who built these beautiful clubhouses for a couple of kiddos, and one of them, actually both of them now, have had some really cool stories that come of it. But one of them, his name was Gage. He was 10 years old, I believe, but he like came alive on the baseball field, and he was in remission up until the day before this event, and found out his cancer was back and was really angry that he couldn't play baseball any longer. And he came to this event, and there was a woman who was building with her company who went back and told her husband, who is the coach of a minor league baseball team. The baseball team heard about Gage, sort of adopted him as somebody that they wanted to pour into, sent a bunch of like balls and bats and gloves and all this stuff to his treatment center in Pennsylvania, and they now have this wonderful, beautiful connection. And the other little boy, Milo, he's local in Charleston, but he's going through his chemo treatments now, but Make-A-Wish is coming up, and he needed to raise a little bit of money, so they made shirts. And so I sent it just a simple note, hey guys, Milo's going through this, would you consider? And they met their goal like this. Yeah. You know, and it's like, it's just a ripple effect. We're not doing anything special here, anything grand. It's just connections. Yeah. Kind of like what you guys do. You know, you connect people in storytelling. Yeah. And it's like a front row seat to watch like magic happen, and living in expectation. that's going to happen. I think that's like what makes us get up every morning.
Yeah.
You know?
In your life, in your journey, we're always living, we're always growing, expanding. What in your life, either personally or professionally, like what's been rocking your world?
Ooh, both personally and professionally. Personally, I couldn't be more thrilled with where my marriage is. It's like I'm so happy about it. Yeah, it's been a long, almost 9 years. We'll celebrate 9 years next month. But this year especially, I feel like we've been in a season for 8 years, and we're finally reaping the harvest of that season. And there's like nothing better. There really is nothing better to just be in alignment. And so that has rocked my world, but it's not without a lot of work. And so each of us are doing our own work, and it's just like fun to go home and fun to be with my family. And I love that. I love that piece of it. And then professionally, so, a part of what I am tasked to do as a visionary is coming up with more creative ideas, because when you are blessed to have repeat clientele, well, then they're like, well, what's next?
What's round 2, 3, 4? Yes.
And so we've got a freaking awesome event coming up on Friday of this week. And it's the first time we're ever doing this, but it's going to be in Newcastle, Pennsylvania. And it's been a big goal of mine to get involved in the CBD industry.
Okay.
I have a lot of friends and family involved. I believe very much in what the industry is doing and the products that are coming out of it. But I also see the industry as that has a need. When they are signing these agreements or working towards getting these permitting permits for these cities, they are somewhat required, and there's an expectation of the community to see, what are you going to do for the community? And so I see us as a really, really valuable asset to some pretty big CBD companies in helping meet their community service goals and needs and requirements, but also helping with their PR in helping the community understand that they're there for a good reason. And so I feel like our community events are a win-win for this massive industry that's like breaking out.
And it's still at the beginning where there's controversy or confusion.
Very much so.
And so that's very integral.
So we have our first event on Friday with an awesome CBD company. And when we were playing around with ideas, we decided that this community itself really could benefit from a beautification project. And a lot of what we do requires, involvement of the. We want our clients to show up and do something hands-on. And so,
yes, I love that.
I remember I was in Vegas last month, I think, and I woke up and I told my husband, I was like, I want to paint a mural. Doesn't that sound fun? And he's like, what are you talking about? You're crazy. And I was like, no, I want to do this, and I want to do it with a company. He's like, cool, let's do it. And so we are painting a mural on Friday, like a sick mural. I'll show you a picture of it.
Okay.
It's awesome. It's from a local artist, Douglas Panzone from Charleston. He did like the Righteous Gemstones one. He did straight street art.
Dude,
it's so cool. But he's doing most of it. Like he just got up there today. He's doing most of it, and it's like a 50-foot wall.
That's massive canvas to work with.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So he's doing most of it, and then the company's coming for 2 hours to finish it.
Oh,
with
cool.
like spray paint, and then we have a beautiful plaque for the town or for the city, and then we have fire pits coming, and we've got like donut making and like a big cauldron of hot cider, and it's just gonna be like a fun block party. And then they get to invite all of their family members. But outside of that being really cool, one of the coolest parts about this, and it's sort of my first time of being in on the conversations behind the events from the beginning. So the conversation went, we got in touch with the community outreach person, and then they had the facility managers on the call. And community outreach shared with the facility manager, like, this is what we're doing and this is why we want to do it. And it's because we believe so much in what y'all are doing here. We want to pour into you. We want to support you. We want to say thank you in this season of thanks. We want to give thanks to you because you are our number one priority. You are what is keeping us innovative, is keeping us creative, is giving us street cred. Y'all are the ones doing it. And the facility manager says, before he said all that, she said, why do you care about us? We're just like one little blimp in a big ass company.
Yes.
And he came back with that, and being able to hear somebody share and me be able to say, yeah, that is exactly why we're doing this, and then get to execute it and watch these people show up and say, hell yeah, and go home that night and be able to say, hey, this is the company that I work for.
Yeah.
Not only do they believe in us and want to pour into us, they believe in a community where this can happen. Like, it's just cool to watch it all come out. And then there's like a wicked cool factor of like the street art.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's like, that's so cool. It's not just the mural. It's like what the mural and the experience of the mural means to all of the parties involved.
Yeah. Oh, it's going to be so awesome. Say a prayer, though. It's going to be like 38 degrees.
Everyone's going to be like, ugh! They're like, why are all the angles really squiggly? Like, we're cool.
But they're like used to it. Yeah. We're in Charleston and it's
shrimps.
60 and I have driving gloves in my pocket.
Winter shrimpos. I know. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So that is firing me up today. Like, I'm ready to get up there and watch this thing. And we have a video coming out of it. Dude, and
yes. Share the link of that with us.
I will. I definitely will. And it's like our first in with the and when it goes well, they'll be implementing it all next year, like quarterly. And that's a big goal of ours, is to get in with the companies that prioritize this type of work, where we're offering quarterly events all over the country for different parts of different departments.
Yep. Yeah.
I mean, that's like what lights us up.
And it's so vibrant on these big organizations where if you are, addressing different chapters or different departments, like it's like that's a sustainable model of, the satisfaction of employees is, all the stats about retaining happy employees, giving fulfillment through their role. So even if they do have something that maybe is a drier role and they're not, getting to do something so fanciful, the benefits of these companies getting to have that like heart and soul energy, regardless of their size. That's
right. And I truly believe we're all on a war for talent right now. I think good talent is hard to find, and I think you have to be setting yourself apart.
Yep.
And you have to be the new up and coming generation is no longer asking for this, they're requiring this of companies. And so it not only is it a retention strategy, it's an attraction strategy as well. And where I think it's one of the talks I do, it's a growth strategy where social impact can be a growth strategy for your company. On retention, attraction, productivity. And then what does that equal? That equals a higher profit. It increases your bottom line, and it goes from doing well by doing good, and that, they don't have to be mutually exclusive.
Preach. Yes.
It's awesome.
Yep. Yes. That's such a good, that is this era.
Yeah.
I love that. And it's like, because we don't all have to work at, the big mega not all of us are going to, my dream job when I was, teenager, wanted to work for Pixar and be an animator.
Cool.
And because I was like, this is the craziest thing. But now I'm like, can I build my own office to have like a ball pit in it and make my own mini, just that environment that does trigger ingenuity and I don't know what we do. What do we do now that's cool? We make stupid videos.
That's fun.
Like whodunits of who doesn't flush the toilet in the office. I don't know. We have fun.
I need more of that. See, I need you more. I need a ball pit in my office.
Yes. That's we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
In another. Yeah. But no, just just disruptive. Like
Yes.
that's like our heartbeat. You know,
Yes.
we're like, we have Riot in our name, not by happenstance, but because we want to shake up the status quo. And we all went through the punk rock phase as like a preteen, but that energy is like, well, why do we have to do it this way? Why do we do things this way? Why are conferences, you know, a certain experience? You know, that questioning is the root of ingenuity and experience. And, you know, not just saying yes because other people did it before, but because it makes sense. And that disruptive.
I love that word.
Yeah.
Disrupting the industries.
We love it too. Well, this has been amazing, Hope. Thank you so much for taking the time to share your heart and your energy and a little glimpse into the day in the life of you know, what you've built in our community. How can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, so we're on Instagram and Facebook, KLH Group, LinkedIn. Under KLH Group and Hope Caldwell.
Okay.
And then email, hope at klhgroup.co.
Okay.
And anything else I'm thinking or forgetting? I'm sure we're on Twitter somewhere. I'm supposed to know this stuff.
Yeah. And then website?
klhgroup.co.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome,
Easy
girl. Well,
enough.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
For our listeners and our viewers, thank you so much for tuning in for this episode. Please be sure to like, subscribe. If you have any other questions for Hope, leave them in the comments, and we'd be more than happy to circle around. And for this episode, I hope that you live a life filled with passion today and that you make a story or two worth telling. Cheers. Wow.
That was so fun.
Awesome, girl.
I didn't know we were going to go all there.